going on, everybody? So today I'll be making a fairy in a bottle nightlight. Now this seems like a pretty easy build. I haven't made it yet, of course. I think the only problem I'm really going to have is drilling a hole into the bottle, so I'm going to try and use my Dremel, but I've seen people use a diamond drill bit. I don't have one of those, so the Dremel's going to have to work for me. So this is a really cheap build, and it's really great for kids that are afraid of the dark, especially if they're a Zelda fan. So good luck. Alright, so my first step is going to be to disassemble this nightlight. So basically, you pop the cover off. There's a little screw in the back, so I'm just going to unscrew it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this bulb out first. There, now I'm going to unscrew this in the back. And basically, I'm hoping once the screw comes out, I should be able to pry the housing apart. The reason I'm doing this is because with this little base here, the light bulb is going to be at the very top of the jar and it won't look very good, so I'm going to try and lower it so I can get the bulb into the center of the jar. So, I've disassembled this. Basically, I can't really get rid of the base, which I don't know why I thought I could, but I can make it shorter, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my Dremel and I'm going to kind of cut the bottom off here as low as I can, and basically I'm hoping to make that bulb sit lower. Alright, so I cut and sanded this down, and basically the problem I have right now is that the little copper wire isn't touching the steel there. That's because when the switch was in, I'll show you here, when the switch is in on the on position, it would push that copper against the steel. Now what you could do is you could either cut it so it's not low enough to get rid of the switch, or you can epoxy the switch into the on position. But since I have the tools, I'm going to use solder, and I'm just going to kind of close that in there and hope that's a bit neater. If you guys have a soldering iron and some solder, that's probably the best thing to do. But other than that, you could epoxy the thing right into the on position, or I think even electric might work, but I'd probably epoxy it instead. So I'm going to solder that in right now. I'm not going to film it because that's not really part of the tutorial. It's just kind of my own little twist on it. I finished soldering it. It took me a bit longer than I thought it would. And I put duct tape on the bottom to minimize the chances of electrocuting myself. Now notice I said minimizing because it hasn't totally eliminated it. But anyways, I'm just basically going to plug it in and hope that it lights up. Now this could go horribly wrong where the bulb explodes, or the fuse shorts out, or the house catches on fire, or you know, I just get burned or electrocuted, but hey, it's worth a shot, right? Oh god dang. Alright, so I was really ready to take the entire thing apart and try and resolder it or look at what's wrong, and then I had a simple idea, so let's see if this works here. So here it is plugged in the wall, and this may or may not work, but you know, gotta troubleshoot it. There we go. So it works just fine. Alright, here we go. Whoa, what's going on, fellas? So, you're going to get your jar next, and your now modified nightlight, and basically I'm going to put the hinge at the back, so I'm going to aim it this way. Just going to slide it in, just kind of see how it fits. The light bulb's still kind of sitting a bit higher than I'd like it to, but you can only do so much, right? So basically, I'm going to get a Sharpie, and I'm just going to draw a line of where I think the outlet kind of goes. So it looks like right about here. Now be careful, Sharpie doesn't stick on glass, so one wipe your finger and that's gone. But basically I'm going to take the light out now and just kind of trace the general shape, and then I'm going to use my Dremel and hopefully cut through the glass. So I'm just about to start to cut through the glass. Now I was going to use a normal Dremel bit, but then I realized I do have diamond drill bits, so I will be using this because that's what's recommended for glass. So I'm really happy I actually had these. So I'm going to try and cut it through it and see how it works. Since we're cutting through glass, it's really important that you wear safety glasses. I'm saying this because little shards could pop up, or I don't know, dust, anything like that, and if it gets into your eyes it'll really hurt, and you'll probably have to make a trip to the hospital if you can't flush it out. So I will be wearing them if I had them. I can't find them anywhere. I searched my house about 14 times. I searched the garage about 13 times. So all I have are aviators. I really don't recommend this to anybody. I'm just going to do it for you guys. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it. But really, if I saw anybody attempting this, I'd tell them they're an idiot. So I'm calling myself an idiot. But it's honestly better than nothing. So you should wear safety glasses, and I recommend it. So don't do what I do. Don't do this at home. If you want to build this at home, though, you can. Alright, I'm making a little bit of progress, but I'm going to change the drill bit here. I don't think this is the right tool for the job. So I'm going to use a circular bit, and then I'm going to move to, it looks like a cylinder, and I'm guessing that's just to cut on angles and such. So I finished cutting the hole. Now, the second I was done, I washed my hands and vacuumed the surrounding area I was working in. This is because there's a lot of dust, and there's a lot of little tiny glass shards. And I also cleaned out the bottle. So this is the hole there. I accidentally put big cracks going through it, but thankfully none of it touched the front. And the reason that happened was I was kind of getting impatient. I started pushing harder than I should have, and the second I started pushing harder, it cracked. So I learned my lesson, so learn from my mistakes and don't push too hard. Really be patient about it. So anyways, I'm just going to kind of let this air dry a little bit more, and now what I'm going to do is start making this into a fairy. Alright, so it's time to make this into a fairy. So what I'm going to do is get my little butterfly here. Now, I went to the dollar store and I basically looked for anything with wings, or pink wings that is. Since Valentine's Day is just around the corner for me, it was pretty easy, right? There's tons of pink things everywhere. This I just kind of lucked out on, just like when I made my Navi for my Zelda parodies. So basically, the body's hot glued onto the wings. So I'm just going to pull it right off. It's actually on there pretty good. There we go. Now I have the wings and this little stick. Now I'm going to get rid of this. So I got the wings off. It was actually a lot harder than I thought it would be. Anyways, so I took the little wings off, and I just kind of kept the big ones here. Now these do have little flowers on them or something like that. So basically I'm just going to turn it this way and hope that you can't really see the fires too well when the light's on. That might work, it might not. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these right to the back and kind of stick them up higher, right? So before I do that, I'm going to put the pink bulb in. And then I'm just going to find a good place to glue these onto, alright? So you don't want to glue them to the bulb, obviously, in case you want to change the bulb eventually. So just glue them as high as you can, so I'm going to say right about there. Alright, so I was going to epoxy the wings onto the bulb, but the epoxy wasn't working for me, so I ended up just using a hot glue gun. But I will epoxy this entire setup into the bottle because I want it to be really strong and hold when someone's plugging it in. So now all I need to do is paint around this with pink, and then I'm going to epoxy it right in. So I threw a little bit of paint on the wings there to kind of hopefully hide the flowers, and then I'm going to have to add a second coat. But basically, once this dries, I'm going to put a load of epoxy all around and stick it into the bottle. Alright, so I've epoxied this guy in there, and now we're just getting to, I think this is the second last step. So you're going to get your pink round transparent whatever. I found this little teddy bear at the dollar store, and there's like a light inside of it, so I know that light will shine through it. But anyways, you're going to cut him up basically. It's kind of hard though because, you know, he's a cute little fella, you know. Like, giant in the world. But I'm sorry little guy, but I have to.
It's okay, do what you have to do.
We could have found another way. So we're almost done. So I took the little hairs and the ears off this guy, but then I realized I could just pop them inside out and it works a lot easier. So now you're just going to stick this in right on top of the light bulb. Takes a bit of maneuvering. There we go. Now earlier I did turn it all on and I let it sit for about 3 to 4 hours just to make sure there was no fire hazard. So after about 4 hours I turned it off. Now the rubber thing was pretty hot, but there's no melting, no flame, nothing like that. So for me it's safe, but I'm going to keep my eye on it. So I suggest if you're making this, make sure you do the same thing because I don't know what materials you're making. But I just want to make sure that it doesn't catch on fire before I put it in a child's room. So after that's done, we're on to the last step. So get your extension cord I bought this at the dollar store. I was hoping to find one with a little clicker on the side to turn it on and off, but I couldn't. So anyways, stick your finger into the jar and then push on the nightlight, because the epoxy is pretty strong, but it's not strong enough for some of these. So just kind of push on the nightlight and push the switch in. There we go. And then plug it in. And there we are. Your fairy in a bottle is done. So that's how to make a fairy in a bottle nightlight. Now this was a pretty simple build, and the hardest part, like I thought it would be, was cutting through the glass. So make sure if you don't have the proper tools to either find them or get someone else to do it for you, or if you're a bit nervous about cutting through glass, make sure you get someone else to do it for you, and always wear the right protective equipment. So the only things that really change on this would be getting either a bigger bottle or a smaller nightlight. I don't really like how there's a body before the circular bulb. I was just kind of hoping for the bulb, but I'll take what I can get, and it works pretty good. Also make sure that before you put it in any kid's room that you leave it on for a few hours while you can watch it, just to make sure it doesn't melt or have any kind of fire hazard. Because I don't know what kind of materials you guys will make them with. The ones that I use, they work fine. So, if you like game-inspired nightlights, then please be sure to check out my Nuka-Cola Quantum video. I made this a little while ago, and it works pretty good. I used it one time when the power went out. So check that out. That's a really simple build, and it's super cheap as well. And if you have any questions, please email me at orange-spy@hotmail.com. Leave me a personal message, or message me on Facebook. We have our own Facebook page at facebook.com/orangespy, and check us out on Twitter and Vine. So good luck with your building, and check out our other videos.